Hi everyone, I hope you're doing great today. I wanted to start this series off and I will be adding some different types of videos, but I did want to make sure we got going on this chakra series while I have some momentum. I actually had to get my ring light out of the basement because it's getting dark very early and I was not prepared for that. But speaking of being prepared, let me just make some adjustments here. Anyway, we're going to start with the first chakra, which is also called the base chakra or the root chakra. And if you missed the basics of chakras, the chakra system, then I want you to first go see that video, which I will link up here. And the root chakra is located at the base of the spine. And I found some notes, which I'm very excited about. I found these notes from my workshop. And sometimes when I get a little nervous, even when I'm teaching in a classroom, I get a little nervous. I want to make sure that I don't miss anything here for you. And I'm going to try to, I don't know. I'll take my glasses off again. Again, the glare is annoying. And I'm sorry for that, but I will lower, maybe that'll be a little better. Okay, so we were talking about chakras, and by the way, this is a coincidence, an absolute coincidence I'm wearing this, but this is kind of like what a chakra looks like. It's a swirly thing, and it comes from the front, maybe out here, for instance, all the way to the back, and it funnels through your body, and it gets wider as it comes out. So it's kind of like two horns, you know, like an instrument horn that is in the back and the front. I'll look for a picture for you because explaining it just in words is very hard because chakras aren't something you can see anyway, but diagrams help. So I will put something up here and I'll just stick here so I can put graphics up for you. So, so they spin in one direction. Now, some people spin counterclockwise, but for the most part, they spin clockwise. When you're looking at someone else, it's going clockwise when it's a healthy chakra. But on you, it would be counterclockwise because it's going to be the mirror image, you know, so this is kind of like your right isn't the same as somebody else's right when you're looking at them. It's actually the opposite. So it actually, on you, if you were looking at it out here, it would be going counterclockwise. And that's going to help when you work with them because you can use your hand to help move energy. And that's the basics of healing channels and things like that. So that's something that maybe at the end we could just review, or I could recommend a couple of other videos to get more in depth of the system. But let's just focus right now because when you see the individual chakras, you might have an aha moment realizing, yeah, this is what I really need to work with. You know, we don't all, I mean, balance is great, work on all of them at once, but we all have issues that, you know, everybody's out of balance a little bit and some are way out of whack. So identifying where your needs are is identifying the chakra that you need work with. So let's go back to this. Every chakra is assigned a color, and every chakra is assigned certain gemstones or crystals that would help balance them. So we're going to, sorry, I got a text. So this particular chakra, the very first one, is about the ego and about fear. Those are two of the biggest ones in my book, because where does fear reside? It resides in the ego. Also anger, which is also just the flip side of fear. And that is just like a very down to earth It's all about your earth life. It is about survival skills. Like, we don't, as spiritual beings, we don't have ego, but as earthlings, we do. It is about survival skills. Sometimes it's about me first. Sometimes people who are self-centered don't have that aligned. So let me say this: imbalance. Imbalance, it gives you a feeling of security. Life seems stable when this chakra is in balance. At the same time, you're filled with active, positive energy, giving off a strong sense of community and good relationships, healthy relationships. But if you have, let's say, a fear of, if you're insecure, for instance, if you're insecure financially, if you have a lot of anxiety, that might be one of the chakras that need adjusting or realignment. And when this chakra is out of balance, you may feel you don't belong. You may feel disconnected from others or over concerned with your personal survival and security. This chakra is about your experiences with these feelings that may come in different degrees of severity depending on what you've experienced in your past. And that's pretty key, because a lot of times we react to life based on, what happened last time, that kind of thing. So it's very important in regards to security, whether it is financial or relationships, kind of to work on old patterns and worry that doesn't serve you. That's very, very important. Editor here, I cannot believe that I missed the physical aspects to this chakra. And that's so important. So silly me, sorry. What I wanted to add was that with the first chakra, the elements of the body, or the area of the body that it affects, is basically the organs of elimination. So if you have colon cancer or colorectal cancer, or possibly even just lower GI tract issues, like an IBS problem, this would also be a chakra that you would specifically want to work with. Okay, let me take it from here. The color assigned to that particular chakra is red. And wearing red may help. It doesn't have to be red. It can be cranberry, or maroon, but something along the lines of a red. That does help people. I do recommend that, and I'm going to share with you when we get to the throat chakra. That's where I really recommend it. So wearing red may help you with your fear of insecurities or your insecurities. You can be insecure and afraid to be insecure. If you have money struggles, maybe it doesn't fix your money struggles, but it might give you a new perspective to not worry so much about them. Reality is still reality, but we react to things differently according to where we are at in life. So when I was talking about previous experiences, if you went through a challenge financially and you can say, well, last time that happened, we got out of it fine. We'll be fine this time too. That would be a healthy root chakra, going at a nice, steady, consistent pace in a clockwise position. Okay. The other thing, a lot of people will say, well, how do I balance this out? It doesn't have to be wearing the color. It can be meditation and prayer. You look at that color while you're doing that, or you imagine that color. And another thing would be a crystal or gemstone. Garnet is the number one response when somebody says, what should I carry in my pocket, or what kind of jewelry should I wear? Garnet is a less expensive, semi-precious gemstone. It's not expensive. They're not really big stones. They're usually little, so they're great in earrings or some, but in your pocket, that's fine. You can just put a couple, and you go to any like kind of a gemstone shop or buy something online. But a lot of other red stones will suffice. Rubies. Not a lot of people have a lot of rubies on hand. The raw rubies are actually not very expensive. It's the processing and faceting of that nice see-through translucent ruby, and otherwise it's very opaque in its raw form. And I'm trying to think, maybe in my notes I've got some other. Trying to think of what other rocks. I can't think of any in particular at the moment. I mean, certain jaspers would work. You know, just pick the redder ones. Let me read a little bit more here and see if it gives me other ones. But if you've thought of any, put them in the comments, you know, because I'm just drawing a blank because I've always used garnet. So you should take into account any past traumatic life experiences from your early years. They can influence how these characteristics manifest. And that is, we didn't have a lot when I was a kid. And that definitely has affected the way that I spend money, and it hasn't made me overly frugal, but I definitely look for deals. And, you know, people that were born with a silver spoon in their mouth probably never worried about that. So they could be over consumers. You know, over consumerism is a big thing. You know, that is about the material life. So if you know somebody who like purchases off QVC and has a house full of just stuff, there's a good chance that that's the chakra that they need work with. And finding balance in your root chakra builds a solid foundation in support of all your other chakra centers. Yeah, so it's the lowest chakra of the 7 main chakras. So it is your foundation, it is your base. And it is about your earth life, which is your foundation while you're living here. You know, this isn't home, but it's certainly home for now. It's your temporary home. And it comes with everything that life comes with. You don't get out of that stuff. Even if, I don't care how spiritual you are, even if you're a devout monk, you still need to eat, right? You still need to be clothed. Well, you don't have to be clothed, but you could be a naked monk. That would be your option. So each chakra has a different element. And this would be earth, fire, water, air. And this one is the earth element, which makes total sense because it's grounding. This is an absolute grounding, touch grass kind of chakra. And I find it fascinating how our bodies are so connected to the earth. I mean, there's even gravity, right, to account for. It's connected to the earth and all its elements, actually. So in my notes, I found this. I will read to you. All solid matter is associated with the root chakra. Focusing on the earth element in meditation can help you gain a sense of stillness and groundedness. I haven't seen these notes for 15 years. Also, bringing elements from the earth into your meditation space is helpful in adding to the atmosphere and to remind you of your connection with the earth. These elements can be anything from rocks to gemstones, pine cones, or even soil. So this really is that need to touch grass and pine cones for Christmas, in the fall and Christmas. That's a great time to put a little bowl on your foyer table with some pine cones in it. Anything that will remind you of the earth actually can be a big help. Now, it doesn't get much more woo-woo than that, right? So this is by definition woo-woo, but I have seen it work. I have seen people give the energy to where it needs to be, give the focus where it needs to be. And it may not help your finances, like I said, but it will help you deal with things better. It also is about being realistic. Let me not say this is just about security or a healthy, unhealthy ego, but it's also about that sense of groundedness. And what that means is that some people just have their head in the clouds naturally. And that, I'm not saying that it helps with delusion, but it could be more about realism and being realistic about a situation. And you may be anxious about that situation, but it gives you a little dose of reality that maybe you're overreacting to something because of that chakra. So I hope that helped. Get some red on, wear some garnet, and touch grass. Okay, I hope this was helpful, and I will be back with the second chakra next week. Bye.